Nestled in the heart of America's Wild West, Yellowstone rises like a living masterpiece. Towering mountains pierce the clouds. Silver rivers cut swiftly through endless pine forests. Geysers roar to life, and steaming geothermal vents swirl with white mist like something out of a myth. All of it creates a landscape that is both breathtaking and mysterious, as if Yellowstone didn't belong to this world. But Yellowstone is also one of nature's harshest testing grounds. Winters here can plunge to 40 degrees, with blizzards that swallow the horizon and winds that scream through the ancient forests. Every creature that calls this land home, from the towering bison to the relentless gray wolf, must be a warrior, forged by the unending struggle for survival. Yellowstone isn't just the first national park in the world. It is where nature reveals its ultimate power, stunning and brutal, awe-inspiring and humbling all at once. Every year, millions journey here, not just to see Yellowstone, but to stand in silence before it. Because this is not a place to simply look at. It's a place to feel with every sense. Here, the wild reigns supreme. This is a land where the battle for life never ends, where bison, gray wolves, grizzlies, eagles, and cougars are drawn into the eternal struggle of survival that nature itself commands. In this film, we invite you to step into Yellowstone Untamed, where beauty is not found in peace, but in the relentless clash between life and death. This is a land where every creature before it can ever be called a predator must first endure the baptism of ice, hunger, and the unforgiving hand of the earth itself. Tucked away in the northwest corner of Wyoming and spilling into parts of Montana and Idaho, Yellowstone is one of the largest and most pristine wilderness areas left in North America. Covering more than 3,400 square miles, it's nothing short of a natural masterpiece, a place where mountains, grasslands, rivers, and lakes all coexist under an endless sky. Sitting in the heart of the Rocky Mountains, Yellowstone is surrounded by jagged peaks, deep valleys, and countless hot springs and geysers that still roar to life every day. Everything here carries its own kind of beauty, sometimes serene, sometimes wild. But in winter, everything changes. Snow begins to fall in November and doesn't stop for months. Temperatures can plunge below 30 degrees, 22 degrees, and bitter winds whip through the forests, turning movement into an exhausting challenge. Each year, Yellowstone is buried under hundreds of inches of snow, especially at higher elevations. Meadows, forests, and streams disappear beneath a frozen blanket, making food almost impossible to find. This is the harshest season of the year. Every creature here must adapt the learning to conserve energy and scrape together whatever food can be found. When the cold tightens its grip, when food runs out and the nights stretch endlessly, Yellowstone becomes one of the ultimate survival tests in nature. Only the strongest or the most adaptable have a chance to see spring. And yet, even in this unforgiving season, life doesn't vanish. It simply grows quieter, more cautious and tougher than ever. For some of the smaller animals, winter even brings advantages. Take the snowshoe hare, the true master of disguise. As the snow deepens, its warm brown coat fades to pure white, blending perfectly into the frozen landscape. In the silent forest, it becomes a ghost, nearly invisible, even to skilled hunters like foxes or wolves. But camouflage can't mask hunger. Sooner or later, the hare must step into the open, searching for scraps of food in a world of ice, each outing a gamble with death. In those same forests, the ermine, a secretive, restless little predator, slips into hollow logs and rocky cracks, escaping the knife-like wind. With its tiny but wide paws, nature's own snowshoes, it glides across the drifts without sinking, able to move where larger animals falter. For Yellowstone's giants, however, winter is a brutal test. From November through April, the cold grinds on like an hourglass turned upside down, each passing day heavier than the last, draining strength from every living thing. Moose, the largest deer in North America, often become trapped in deep snow. Their size, once an advantage, now slows them down, and finding food becomes almost impossible. During long, punishing storms, many collapse starved and exhausted. The winter of 1996 still stands as one of the darkest seasons in Yellowstone's history, when natural die-offs claimed nearly half of the moose and deer populations. Even the mighty bison with their hulking bodies and thick woolly coats that act like armor aren't spared. They lower their massive heads, plowing through the snow to reach the buried grasses below. But in years when the snow falls too deep, even this effort isn't enough. Death rates can climb as high as 20%, a staggering loss for animals already locked in a year-round struggle with one of the toughest environments on Earth. High above the steaming geysers, rolling meadows, and glacial rivers of Yellowstone, a shadow glides effortlessly. Its wingspan stretches over 7 feet. Its sharp eyes search the waters below, and its head gleams white in the sunlight. This is the bald eagle, the national bird of the United States, and a living symbol of strength, resilience, and freedom. To witness a bald eagle soaring over Yellowstone is to experience a moment that feels almost sacred. This bird is more than just a predator. It is a reminder of the wild spirit that defines America itself. The bald eagle's story began millions of years ago. Roughly 10 million years ago, its ancestors diverged from the great sea eagles that once ruled the coasts of Eurasia. Around 2 million years ago, some of these eagles crossed the Bering Land Bridge from Siberia into North America, pioneers of the skies, much like the human explorers who would later follow. Once here, they found an unbroken paradise. Vast rivers, endless forests, and prey in abundance. They adapted quickly, spreading across the continent and carving out a place as top predators. And nowhere today do they thrive more majestically than in Yellowstone National Park, where pristine waters and untouched wilderness provide the perfect refuge. For Native American tribes, the bald eagle has always carried deep spiritual meaning. Its feathers were seen as gifts from the Creator used in ceremonies to honor courage, wisdom, and leadership. To modern Americans, the eagle is a living emblem of freedom itself, chosen as the nation's symbol in 1782. Yet in Yellowstone, it remains first and foremost a wild creature bound to the rhythms of nature. The bald eagle is among the largest birds of prey in North America. Adults weigh 6 to 14 pounds and measure up to 3 feet in body length. But their most striking feature is their wingspan, 6 to 7, 5 feet across broad sails that allow them to ride the thermals for hours with barely a wing beat. Their vision is legendary, 4 to 5 times sharper than that of humans. From a perch high in the pines, or while circling hundreds of feet above, an eagle can spot a fish swimming near the surface of a river nearly 2 miles away. And when the moment comes, they transform from serene gliders into lightning-fast hunters. Folding their wings, they dive at speeds topping 100 miles per hour. Talons extended like hooked daggers. The strike is swift, precise, and lethal. For fish, waterfowl, or even small mammals, there is no escape once a bald eagle locks its gaze. Yellowstone is a paradise for eagles because of its rivers and lakes. The Great Yellowstone River and Yellowstone Lake, stretching over 130 square miles, provide abundant food and safe nesting grounds. Here, fish dominate the menu, making up 70 to 90% of the bald eagle's diet. Cutthroat trout, in particular, are a staple. Eagles also take advantage of ducks, geese, and the occasional rabbit or carrion. In this way, they are not only hunters, but also opportunists, perfectly adapted to exploit the shifting abundance of the seasons. During spring, when fish spawn in the shallow waters, the skies come alive with eagle activity. They patrol the rivers like silent sentinels, each dive a reminder of their unmatched skill. By summer, families of eagles can be seen teaching fledglings to fly and hunt, adding new voices to the wild chorus of Yellowstone. Beyond their power as hunters, bald eagles are also renowned for their loyalty. Once a pair bonds, they mate for life, a rarity in the animal kingdom. Together they return each year to the same nest, rebuilding and expanding it. Some nests grow to be over a ton in weight, large enough to support a grown man. High in the treetops, these nests are fortresses of family life. Within them, eaglets hatch and grow nurtured by both parents. The mother shields them from the elements, while the father tirelessly hunts to provide food. By the time the young are ready to take their first flight, the cycle of devotion has already etched the values of resilience and survival into their lives. For many Americans, this lifelong partnership has made the bald eagle a symbol not only of freedom, but also of commitment and stability. A reminder of the bonds that sustain families and communities. Though they reign as kings and queens of the air, bald eagles are not without rivals. Ospreys, skilled fishers in their own right, sometimes challenge them for food. Great horned owls may threaten their nests under cover of night. When such confrontations occur, the bald eagle does not hesitate. With superior size, power, and speed, it launches fierce aerial assaults, driving intruders away with talons and beak. These battles are rare, but spectacular reminders that even in the wild dominance must be defended. Perhaps the most remarkable role of the bald eagle lies in its influence on the ecosystem. Like Yellowstone's wolves, they are keystone predators. By hunting fish and waterfowl, they prevent populations from exploding unchecked, protecting riverbanks and aquatic vegetation. Even after their meals, eagles continue shaping the environment. The remains of prey dropped from nests or left uneaten nourish the soil. Smaller animals benefit plants flourish, and the cycle of life strengthens. In this way, every action of the bald eagle sends ripples through Yellowstone's wilderness, ensuring balance is maintained. Their presence is proof that the health of an ecosystem is measured not just by the survival of the strongest, but by the interdependence of all living things. It is easy to forget that America nearly lost its national symbol. By the mid-20th century, bald eagles had been decimated by habitat loss hunting and the pesticide DDT. In the 1960s, their population had fallen to just a few hundred nesting pairs in the lower 48 states. But Yellowstone became part of their comeback story. Thanks to strict protection laws, the banning of harmful pesticides, and decades of conservation efforts, the bald eagle was removed from the endangered species list in 2007. Today, the skies of Yellowstone echo once again, with their cries a living testimony to what is possible when people choose to protect rather than exploit. To Americans, the bald eagle is more than feathers and talons. It is the image pressed into coins, raised high on flags, and engraved into the heart of the national seal. It is the silent witness to history from the Revolution to the present day. But in Yellowstone, stripped of politics and symbolism, the eagle is simply what it has always been: a predator, a parent, a guardian of balance. Watching one soar above the Yellowstone River wings, stretched wide against the backdrop of snow-capped peaks, one cannot help but feel both humbled and inspired. Here in this untamed wilderness, the bald eagle reminds us of who we are. A people who have always sought freedom, who endure hardship, and who find strength in unity. Every beat of the bald eagle's wings carries more than the bird itself. It carries the rhythm of Yellowstone, the pulse of the wild, and the enduring spirit of America. In its flight, we see the story of resilience of a species nearly lost, now restored. We see the balance of predator and prey, of family and survival. And we see perhaps a reflection of ourselves, striving, enduring, and forever reaching higher. So the next time you stand in Yellowstone and look skyward, remember this: you are not just watching a bird. You're witnessing the living soul of the American wilderness. You've probably heard the legendary story of the gray wolf in North America, the top predator of Yellowstone. the ancestors of the North American gray wolf began their survival journey millions of years ago, roaming the vast mountains and frozen plains of Eurasia. During the harsh conditions of the Ice Age, nature gifted them with near-perfect adaptability. Their bodies grew stronger, their teeth sharper, and they became capable of bringing down massive prey like moose bison and even the mighty woolly mammoth. For thousands of years, gray wolves dominated forests, grasslands, and coastlines. They ranged everywhere from the frozen Arctic to barren deserts, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. This incredible adaptability earned them the title of eternal predators of the wild. But then humans arrived, and everything began to change. By the 19th century, the gray wolf's struggle for survival was no longer just against nature, but against people as well. Aggressive hunting campaigns launched to protect livestock turned vast stretches of land into places where the howl of the wolf was silenced. By the early 20th century, gray wolves had completely disappeared from Yellowstone, leaving its ecosystem deeply out of balance. Then, in 1995 and 1996, wildlife conservation groups reintroduced about 30 gray wolves back into Yellowstone, restoring the haunting howls that once echoed through its valleys and forests. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in Yellowstone's story, where wolves reclaimed their ancestral home and brought hope for the rebirth of its natural ecosystem. As of December 2023, Yellowstone National Park is home to 124 gray wolves, divided among about 11 packs. Across the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, the total population is estimated at around 500. The return of the gray wolf has brought a miraculous rebirth to Yellowstone's ecosystem. Once barren stream banks now flourish with life again. Young trees push through the soil and reach for the sun. And as a result, birds and fish thrive in abundance. Compared to their relatives in other parts of the world, Yellowstone wolves stand out for their impressive size. They measure about 26 to 32 inches, 66-81 centimeters at the shoulder. Adult males can weigh up to 143 pounds, 65 kilograms, while females average around 110 pounds, 50 kilograms. Their dense double coat allows them to endure Yellowstone's brutal winters. The outer layer is long and coarse, shielding them from icy winds, while the soft underfur insulates and traps warmth in freezing conditions. Their colors range widely, from pale gray, like morning mist, to jet black, like midnight. Highly social by nature, wolves don't live in isolation. They form tight-knit packs, disciplined and bonded like natural armies. Each pack usually numbers between 5 and 14 members, led by the alpha pair. These leaders guide the hunts and defend the pack's territory. Across Yellowstone's vast white plains, wolves move like shadows gliding over snow. According to wolf researchers in the park, their hunts are never random. Every step is calculated, each movement part of a survival strategy honed over thousands of years of evolution. Gray wolves possess extraordinary senses. Their hearing allows them to detect sounds up to 6 miles, 10 kilometers away under ideal conditions. Their sense of smell is believed to be about 100 times stronger than a human's, enabling them to track prey across complex terrain, even when scent trails are buried beneath snow or swept away by strong winds. A wolf can pick up the scent of prey from nearly 2 miles, 3 kilometers away. Yet even as apex predators, wolves struggle against one of Yellowstone's largest beasts, the bison. Their success rate when hunting bison is no more than 15%. When the moment of the hunt comes, the pack launches into a deadly dance. They drive the massive herd, isolate the weak, and close in. Howls echo across the valley, then silence broken only by pounding hooves on snow and the clash of teeth in chaos. Each bite to the hind legs, each coordinated strike is sharp, ruthless, and precise. Eventually, a bison collapses, and the victory is shared among the entire pack. But even after the kill piece rarely lasts. The scent of blood lures in Yellowstone's giant, the grizzly bear, a thief strong enough to steal their prize within minutes. The wolves rally, howling defiantly to defend what they've earned. Sometimes they succeed, sometimes they fail. A reminder that even the fiercest hunters must bow to nature's greater power. The wolf's battles aren't only against outside threats. Within the pack, power struggles simmer constantly. Fights for the alpha position can end in bloodshed, and nearly 30% of wolf deaths come at the teeth of their own kind. And yet, despite this brutality, wolves remain the heartbeat of Yellowstone. Since their return in 1995, the ecosystem has transformed. Elk no longer overgraze young trees, rise again along the rivers. Beavers return to build dams, and birds find new homes. The gray wolf, ruthless on the battlefield of survival, yet the very guardian of balance in the wild. A predator, yes, but also a living symbol of Yellowstone's miraculous renewal. And if wolves are the heartbeat, then bison are the breath of Yellowstone. Predator and prey locked in the eternal circle of life. Without bison, the Great Plains lose their soul. Without wolves, the strength of the bison would never be tested. In the grand wilderness of Yellowstone, where ancient glaciers carved sweeping valleys and endless pine forests stretch toward the horizon, one unmistakable symbol stands tall: the American bison. With its massive frame, shaggy mane, and unyielding gaze, it is a living testament to the raw endurance of nature and a witness to the epic, often tragic history of North America. The bison's scientific name, bison, is not only the largest land mammal on the continent, but also the very soul of this landscape. There was a time when the thunder of bison hooves shook the plains, their herds numbering between 30 and 60 million, covering the continent from the Appalachians all the way to the Pacific. But as human expansion spread across the land, their story took a devastating turn. By the early 20th century, only 23 bison remained in Yellowstone's Lamar Valley. In that moment, a species that once ruled the North American frontier teetered on the edge of extinction. Yet the story of the bison did not end there. Thanks to relentless efforts by conservationists and the strict protections of Yellowstone National Park, the population slowly rebounded. By 2023, their numbers had risen to roughly 4,500. Each bison roaming the park today stands as proof of nature's resilience and as a hard-won victory for wildlife conservation. The bison is the largest land mammal in North America. A full-grown bull can stand up to 6 feet tall at the shoulder and weigh between 1,000 and 2,200 pounds, or 1,000 cougars. Cows are smaller, usually between 800 and 1,200 pounds, yet they still carry an astonishing strength within them. When faced head-on, there are few creatures in the wild that can intimidate a bison. They carry the aura of a primal warrior, peaceful and steady, while grazing on the open plains, yet fierce and unstoppable, like a storm when threatened. Yellowstone is a land of extremes, where winters drag on for months with sub-zero temperatures and relentless blizzards. To survive, bison are equipped with a remarkable double-layered coat. The outer layer is long and coarse, acting like a shield against the cutting wind. Beneath it lies a dense, woolly undercoat, a natural blanket that traps precious warmth even in freezing conditions. When heavy snow blankets their backs, bison remain unmoved in the storm, each breath rising like a puff of white smoke. In fact, the snow that settles on their fur becomes an extra layer of insulation, locking in body heat. Beyond their coat, bison also prepare for winter with a living energy reserve, a thick layer of fat that can make up 10–15% of their body weight. Built up during summer and fall, this fat sustains them through the long, barren months when the grasslands lie buried under snow. Bison are true nomads, moving with the seasons in search of food. In summer, they gather in massive herds across the Hayden and Lamar valleys, where the green meadows stretch out like endless carpets. Come winter, they migrate to lower elevations, where the snow is thinner and the grasses easier to reach. One of the bison's most remarkable survival skills is their ability to plow through snow with their massive heads. Using their powerful necks and broad skulls, they sweep aside snow several feet deep, uncovering patches of grass beneath. Still, when the snow grows too deep, even this skill has its limits. At first glance, bison may seem calm, sluggish, even lazy. But don't be fooled. They can turn fierce and explosive in an instant. This is most dramatic during the mating season, June to September, peaking in July and August. Bulls rejoin the herds and clash in violent battles, their thunderous headbutts sending clouds of dust into the air, the prairie shaking under the weight of their primal power. These moments reveal the rawest essence of the bison, a blend of strength, pride, and the unyielding drive to survive. And make no mistake, bison are never easy prey. When confronted by predators like gray wolves or even massive grizzlies, they can fight back with astonishing force. Speed up to 35 mph, fast enough to catch any attacker off guard. Horns reaching up to 2 feet 60 centimeters, deadly weapons wielded by both males and females. Mass combined with a full-speed charge, the impact can be devastating. Hind legs capable of delivering crushing kicks strong enough to break a wolf's bones or force an entire pack to retreat. Time and again, wolves, smart and persistent as they are, have been driven off by the sheer fury of a charging bison, especially when a mother is protecting her calf. Bison aren't just powerful symbols, they're also the ecological architects of Yellowstone. As they move their hooves, churn the soil, helping seeds spread and new grasses grow. Their natural fertilizer enriches the land, feeding the plant life that sustains countless species. The half-grazed meadows they leave behind create pockets of biodiversity where birds, insects, and small animals thrive. In other words, every step a bison takes is more than just the mark of a species. It's the heartbeat of an entire ecosystem. For native peoples, bison were life itself. Their meat, hides, bones, sinew, and horns were all used for food, clothing, shelter, and tools. In many tribal traditions, the bison is sacred, a symbol of abundance, resilience, and spiritual power. Today, the bison is recognized as a national icon. In 2016, Congress officially named it the national mammal of the United States. Alongside the bald eagle, soaring above the bison roaming the land, stands as the perfect counterpart together, reflecting America's strength and freedom. The story of the bison in Yellowstone isn't just the history of a species. It's a lesson for humanity. Once pushed to the brink of extinction, they've come back strong through determined conservation, living proof that when people choose to repair and protect, nature can recover. Stand in Lamar Valley today, watching hundreds of bison moving through the morning mist, and you're not just seeing wildlife. You're witnessing the memory of a continent, the pulse of life, and a promise of hope for the future. Each bison is more than a wild warrior of Yellowstone. It's a reminder that while nature can be wounded, it can also heal if we give it the chance. But Yellowstone isn't defined by bison alone. Hidden in misty valleys and among dense pine forests, another giant walks quieter, but no less magnificent. In the vast wilderness of Yellowstone, where valleys stretch endlessly and pine forests cloak the land, one creature moves with slow, deliberate majesty, the moose. Known scientifically as Alsa's alsas, it is the largest member of the deer family, still walking the earth, the true giant of the northern forests, and an essential presence in Yellowstone's living symphony. Among North America's mammals, only the mighty bison outweighs the moose. But in terms of height, no rival stands taller. A full-grown bull can tower more than 7 feet at the shoulder and weigh between 900 and 1,600 pounds. Females are slightly smaller, though still immense, usually ranging from 800 to 1,300 pounds. In their presence, even a large horse appears small. A reminder that moose are living monuments of strength and endurance. Their most iconic feature is, of course, the antlers of the males. Unlike the sharp branching racks of deer or elk moose antlers, fan outward broad and flat, like enormous hands reaching toward the horizon. Some spread 6 feet across, weighing as much as 40 pounds. They are both weapons and ornaments, at once practical and symbolic, deadly in combat, yet also regal crowns that proclaim dominance in the untamed wilderness. Every fall, Yellowstone becomes the stage for one of nature's most dramatic spectacles, the dance of dominance. Bulls roam the valleys, their calls echoing through the trees, challenging rivals to battle. When they clash, their massive antlers slam together with thunderous force. The crack of bone on bone reverberates through the valley, a sound as ancient as the forest itself. These contests are dangerous, sometimes resulting in serious injury or even death. Yet they are not senseless violence. Behind the struggle lies meaning. Each battle is a declaration. Each clash of antlers, a proclamation to the wilderness: I am strong. I am worthy to carry life forward. Victory ensures the right to mate, shaping the next generation of moose. But autumn's fire soon gives way to winter's iron grip. Yellowstone is infamous for its brutal cold. Temperatures drop to 26 degrees Celsius, 30 degrees. Snow buries the land for months. Many animals retreat or hibernate, but moose endure. Their coats, designed by evolution, are marvels of survival. A long, hollow-haired outer layer that blocks the wind, and a dense undercoat that traps warmth close to the skin. Even with ice forming along their backs, they continue forward with the silent persistence of ancient warriors. Food, however, becomes scarce. Deep snow buries grasses and shrubs. Moose survive by reaching what others cannot. Their long pillar-like legs wade through snowdrifts that would entrap smaller creatures, allowing them to browse on willow birch and aspen twigs. In some winters, herds migrate hundreds of miles to lower valleys where snow is thinner and vegetation still clings to life. Even with these adaptations, survival is never guaranteed. In the harshest winters, up to 20% of Yellowstone's moose may perish. Yet in death, they give back. Wolves and bears feed on their bodies. Ravens circle overhead to claim their share. Even the soil absorbs their nutrients, enriching the ground for future growth. In this cycle, loss becomes renewal, and the wilderness continues. Despite their size, moose are not invincible. Predators test their strength, especially wolves. In Yellowstone, wolf packs have honed the art of cooperation. They circle chase and harass, pressing their quarry across snow and forest. A hunt may cover a few hundred yards or stretch across 2 miles of rugged terrain. Wolves usually target the most vulnerable females, guarding calves, the elderly, or the sick. Even then, success is far from guaranteed. Studies suggest wolves succeed only 14 to 20% of the time when hunting moose, because once a moose is cornered, the hunter becomes the hunted. With sweeping antlers and sledgehammer hooves, moose can turn the tide. Their kicks are powerful enough to break bones. Their antlers cut through the air like blades. More than once, a wolf pack has been driven back, battered and bloodied by the fury of a single bull. But moose are not defined only by battle. They are also creators-shapers of the landscape. By consuming large amounts of woody vegetation, willow birch and aspen, they prevent forests from becoming overgrown. Their browsing opens the canopy, letting sunlight filter to the ground. Grasses, wildflowers, and shrubs thrive in these patches of light, attracting birds, insects, and smaller mammals. In this way, moose are gardeners of Yellowstone quiet architects who maintain the delicate balance of the ecosystem. Remove them, and the landscape would change dramatically. Willow thickets would choke waterways. Forests would crowd out open meadows, and the intricate web of species that depends on these spaces, from songbirds to beavers, would unravel. Look into the eyes of a moose, and you see both power and vulnerability. They endure freezing winters, predators, and hunger. They are colossal, armored survivors, yet they are also deeply fragile. Climate change is shifting the ecosystems they depend on, bringing warmer winters that affect food availability and allow parasites to thrive. Diseases spread more easily. Human activity, roads, traffic encroachment fragments their habitat, cutting ancient migration paths. This paradox is what makes the moose so compelling. They embody a balance between strength and fragility, between pride and humility. They are survivors who can bring down wolves with a single kick, yet they remain vulnerable to forces far beyond their control. If you ever find yourself in Lamar Valley or along the Yellowstone River at dawn, pause for a moment. Watch the thin morning mist rise from the water. You may glimpse a moose wading slowly, each step deliberate, each breath steaming in the cold air. The ripples it makes spread outward across the surface, but they also stir something deeper within us. What we see is not just an animal, but a symbol resilience carved by ice strength, tempered by humility and beauty, born from struggle. The moose of Yellowstone stand as guardians of the wilderness, ancient and enduring. In their story, we find echoes of our own, a reminder that we too walk the line between strength and fragility, and that true survival comes from balance, connection, and respect for the rhythm of life. In the shadows of Yellowstone's dense forests and towering mountains, a predator moves with grace and mystery. The mountain lion, also known as the cougar. Its scientific name is Puma concolor, a member of the cat family, Felidae, closely related to jaguars and cheetahs. Throughout natural history, cougars have proven to be among the most adaptable predators, ranging across nearly the entire Western Hemisphere, from Canada's frozen forests to South America's tropical rainforests. That wide distribution has also earned them a place in the Guinness World Records as the animal with the most names, over 40 in total. They're known as cougar, puma, mountain lion, catamount, panther, red lion, and even mountain screamer. Yet, here in Yellowstone, despite their presence, cougars remain so elusive that visitors almost never see them. In 2023, only about 20 individuals were documented. To catch sight of a cougar in Yellowstone is nothing short of extraordinary, like glimpsing a ghost moving silently through the wilderness. Fossil studies show that the ancestors of cougars first appeared around 3 to 4 million years ago during the Pliocene and early Pleistocene epochs. After the Ice Age, as the glaciers receded and North America's landscapes opened up with new vegetation, cougars gradually spread across the Americas. What sets them apart is their extraordinary adaptability. Unlike many other big cats that rely on fixed habitats, cougars can thrive in environments ranging from dry grasslands to dense pine forests, and even in rugged mountain terrain. This versatility has allowed them to endure millions of years of climate shifts and survival challenges. Physically, the cougar carries both power and elegance. Adult males usually weigh between 115 and 220 pounds, tied to 100 kg, and measure 5 to 8 feet long, including their nearly 3 foot 80 centimeters tail that serves as a perfect counterbalance. Females are smaller, weighing 64 to 141 pounds, 29 to 64 kg, but they still possess formidable strength. Unlike the regal stance of the African lion, the cougar is a master of invisibility. Its coat ranges from reddish-brown to pale gray, blending seamlessly with Yellowstone's rocky terrain and dense forests. Thanks to this natural camouflage, cougars move like silent phantoms, slipping through the wilderness, almost entirely unseen. Their piercing golden eyes, paired with razor-sharp vision, allow them to detect even the slightest movement in low light. And their curved hook-like claws, measuring 1.5 to 2 inches, 4 to 5 centimeter, are fearsome weapons that strike terror into any prey. Unlike gray wolves, which thrive in packs, cougars live solitary lives. They interact only during mating season or when a mother raises her cubs. Their form of communication isn't the thunderous roar of a lion, but instead scent markings, scratches on tree trunks, and at times eerie wails, haunting cries that can sound like the scream of a lost soul. Cougars claim vast territories that can stretch for hundreds of square kilometers. These ranges include forests, canyons, grasslands, and even sheer rocky slopes, each one serving as the perfect hunting ground. Any predator that dares to cross into their domain is met with a fierce warning. Yellowstone is known for its long, brutal winters, but cougars have evolved to endure with resilience and cunning. Instead of plunging into deep snow, they carefully choose drier, rocky terrain where prey still moves, conserving their energy while increasing their chances of success. Stealth is their deadliest weapon. A cougar can wait for hours hidden in the shadows just to unleash a single explosive strike, swift and precise as a lightning bolt. With extraordinary power, they can leap nearly 16 feet 5 meters straight up, or bound more than 40 feet 12 meters across, covering ground in a blur. Their diet revolves mostly around mule deer, which make up 60–80% of what they eat. But they're versatile hunters, also preying on moose elk, snowshoe hares, beavers, and sometimes even smaller animals like grouse. A cougar's trademark strategy is the ambush. Unlike gray wolves, they don't rely on long pursuits or endurance speed. Instead, they thrive on surprise creeping silently until the moment is right, then exploding forward at speeds of up to 50 miles per hour, 80 km/h in an instant. Once they make contact, their claws clamp down and their powerful jaws lock onto the neck, bringing the prey down within seconds. A single large kill can feed a cougar for several days. To protect its meal, the big cat often drags the carcass to a secluded spot and covers it with leaves, branches, or snow, an instinctive way to hide it from scavengers. But even as an apex predator, the cougar isn't invincible. In Yellowstone, gray wolves and grizzly bears are constant rivals, frequently stealing kills. Research from the National Park Service shows that in 20 to 30% of cases, cougars are forced off their prey by wolves or bears. Rather than wasting precious energy in drawn-out battles, cougars often retreat, choosing survival over pride. And that's what sets them apart. They're not only powerful hunters, but also cunning strategists in nature's game of survival. Like the bald eagle or the gray wolf, the cougar plays a vital role in keeping Yellowstone's ecosystem in balance. By targeting weak or sick deer and elk, these big cats prevent overgrazing and protect the vegetation. That ripple effect allows plants to thrive again, which in turn supports countless smaller animals and birds. Even though cougars are rare in Yellowstone, their presence is an essential piece of the park's wild puzzle. Perhaps the most moving image in the shadows of the forest is that of a mother cougar defending her young. Studies show that nearly 40% of a cougar's fights happen when females are protecting their cubs. They will throw themselves into a life or death struggle against wolves or even grizzlies despite the high risk of injury. For the cubs, survival is a tough teacher. Once they leave their mother, it can take years to master the skills needed to hunt and survive. Many won't make it through their first year. But for those that do, the hardships shape them into true survivors, the strong ones nature chooses to carry forward. In the past, cougars were relentlessly hunted and seen as a threat to livestock. But modern research shows they rarely attack humans, and for the most part avoid people altogether. Thanks to strict protection, Yellowstone has become one of the last strongholds for these elusive cats. Their quiet presence is a reminder that nature doesn't need to be loud or flashy to prove its power. Sometimes silence itself is the ultimate strength. In the shadows of Yellowstone's forests, cougars still move like noble ghosts. They make no noise, demand no attention, yet every step they take etches a story of strength, patience, and wisdom into the land. If the bald eagle represents the sky and the gray wolf is the heartbeat of the plains, then the cougar is the silent breath of the mountains, an unseen guardian of balance and living proof that in nature, the things we see the least often can be the most important. In the wild tapestry of Yellowstone between the lush green prairies of summer and the silent forests of winter, there's a quiet but vital presence. The mule deer, Odocoileus hemionus. They're not only one of the most common deer species in the park, but also the primary prey that sustains top predators like gray wolves and cougars. More than that, mule deer are a true symbol of resilience and adaptability, tireless travelers on nature's never-ending road of survival. Mule deer are medium-sized deer. Adult males usually weigh between 200 and 300 pounds, 90, 135 kilograms, while females are smaller, around 120, 170 pounds, 35 to 77 kilograms. They may not be as massive as moose or as imposing as bison, but they carry a grace and agility that makes them masters of speed and leaping. Their most recognizable feature is their oversized ears, nearly a third the size of their head, resembling those of a mule, which is where they get their name. With those ears, mule deer seem to always be listening to the world around them, like living radars tuned to every subtle sound carried by the wind. For male mule deer, the standout feature is their unique branching antlers. Unlike the white-tailed deer, mule deer antlers spread wide and split into multiple tines resembling the branches of an ancient tree. Each spring, the old antlers fall off, only to grow back again, a powerful symbol of endless renewal. By late summer, once the antlers reach their full size, the battles for mating rights turn Yellowstone's prairies into a stage of power and pride. The mule deer population in Yellowstone typically ranges from 1,500 to 2,000 animals, though the number shifts with the seasons. That's because they follow a crucial survival strategy, seasonal migration. In spring and summer, when fresh grasses, wildflowers, and shrubs cover the meadows, the herds feast, as if nature has set out a grand banquet. They graze leisurely, sometimes pausing beneath willow trees, their gentle eyes reflecting the peace of the warm season. But when winter arrives, Yellowstone transforms into a frozen desert. Thick snow blankets the ground, hiding every green shoot. This is when mule deer set out on their difficult migrations, sometimes traveling dozens of miles, often beyond the park's boundaries, to lower elevations where the snow is thinner and food can still be found. Their winter diet becomes simple but essential twigs and bark from willows, aspens, and other shrubs. Every step a mule deer takes in the depths of winter is a testament to sheer endurance. Studies show that during the harshest winters, their mortality rates can spike, but that very sacrifice sustains Yellowstone's predators, completing the circle of life and death in the wild. Within Yellowstone's ecosystem, mule deer are a primary food source for top predators like gray wolves, cougars, and even grizzly bears. These hunters usually target the young, the old, or the sick prey that's easier to take down and carries less risk. Still, mule deer are far from easy victims. Their oversized ears work like motion and sound detectors, alerting them long before danger gets too close. When threatened, mule deer rarely stand and fight. Instead, they rely on escape. And once they bolt, they can hit speeds of up to 45 mph, 72 km/h, fast enough to make even the most determined predator hesitate. Speed isn't their only defense. Mule deer are also famous for their starting powerful high jumps that launch them 3 to 5 feet into the air, with leaps spanning up to 15 feet. In Yellowstone's rugged terrain, this unique bounding gait creates instant distance, often leaving even wolves struggling to keep pace. If the bison is the giant guardian of the plains, and the gray wolf is the heartbeat of the predator-prey cycle, then the mule deer is the central link that holds Yellowstone's ecosystem together. As grazers, mule deer consume huge amounts of vegetation. In doing so, they help regulate plant growth, prevent certain species from overgrowing, and create room for greater biodiversity across forests and grasslands. Their very presence indirectly sustains an entire chain of predators, from birds of prey to Yellowstone's most powerful carnivores. Even in death, mule deer remain vital. Their carcasses provide nutrients for countless insects, scavenger birds, and even the surrounding plant life. Every mule deer, whether alive or gone, contributes to nature's greater balance. Mule deer may not be as imposing as the bison, as mysterious as the cougar, or as iconic as the bald eagle. Yet their quiet resilience is its own kind of beauty. From their steady steps across the summer meadows to their desperate leaps through the snows of winter, mule deer prove a timeless lesson to survive in the wild. You don't need to be the strongest. You just need to be resilient and smart enough to adapt. In Yellowstone's wild symphony, mule deer are the steady background notes that hold everything together. They don't make a lot of noise. They don't demand attention, yet their presence feeds. The predators maintains the balance of the forests and keeps the rhythm of life flowing. If you pause for a moment in Lamar or Hayden Valley, look closely for the slender but resilient figure of a mule deer. You'll realize that even the most ordinary-looking creatures can carry extraordinary stories of patience, adaptability, and the raw strength of survival. But in a world where fragile animals like mule deer must fight every day just to endure, there also walk giant beings that embody the sheer force of the wilderness. And among them, the grizzly bear stands as the ultimate symbol, feared, revered, and beating like the powerful heart of Yellowstone itself. This giant of the wild is
For
not
tens
just a
of
ruler of
thousands
the
of
food
years,
chain.
the grizzly
It's a
bear
living
has grown
testament
into
to
the vast
nature's
wilderness of
resilience
Yellowstone.
and incredible ability to adapt. The story of the grizzly bear stretches back tens of thousands of years. Around 5,000 to 1,000 years ago, their ancestors, the brown bears of Siberia, crossed the Bering Land Bridge during the last ice age and set foot in North America. The harsh climate and rugged terrain of this new land forged a unique subspecies, the grizzly. These early migrants adapted and evolved into warriors capable of surviving in Yellowstone's dense forests, sweeping plains, and frozen mountain ranges. But the journey of the grizzly isn't just a story of evolution. It is also a story of painful decline. By the late 19th century, as waves of European settlers poured into North America, grizzly bears became victims of rifles deforestation and the spread of farmland. By the end of the 1800s, the grizzly population in Yellowstone had nearly vanished. By 1975, their numbers had plummeted to just about 136
on
bears.
the endangered species list.
Facing the very real threat of extinction, they were placed on the endangered species list. Thanks to strong conservation efforts led by the National Park Service and dedicated ecologists, Yellowstone's grizzlies staged a remarkable comeback. Today, their recovery stands as one of the greatest success stories in North American conservation history. In the wilderness of Yellowstone, the sight of a grizzly is both awe-inspiring and intimidating. When standing on their hind legs, they can tower up to 8 feet 2.4 meters tall, an imposing presence that commands respect from every creature around them. Adult males typically weigh between 400 and 800 pounds, 180, 360 kilos, and some can even reach 1,000 pounds, 450 kilos, after building up fat reserves before hibernation. Females are smaller, usually weighing 300 to 400 pounds, 130, 180 kilos, but they are no less resilient, especially when raising cubs on their own through Yellowstone's unforgiving winters. A grizzly's coat is like natural armor, thick with colors ranging from light brown to deep black, sometimes tipped with silver, giving them the look of warriors draped in steel. Winter in Yellowstone is a brutal test. When snow piles deep and food all but disappears, grizzlies retreat into their dens, entering a long hibernation that lasts from November to March. During this time, they don't eat, drink, or even relieve themselves. Instead, they survive entirely on fat reserves, sometimes making up as much as 40% of their body weight. Even more remarkable females give birth while hibernating. The den becomes a cradle of warmth, where tiny cubs are nourished by their mother's milk and body heat, preparing for the spring ahead. When spring finally returns, grizzlies emerge from their dens to reclaim their territories. They leave behind massive paw prints in the soil claw at tree trunks and rub their backs against bark, silent declarations of their strength and dominance. In Yellowstone's deep valleys and dense forests, grizzlies show the wisdom of ancient warriors. They know how to hunt when needed, but they never pass up seasonal foods either. Their diet is incredibly diverse, everything from salmon, young elk, and carrion to berries and grasses. With a sense of smell said to be 7 times stronger than a bloodhound's, grizzlies can detect food from nearly 20 miles away. And when they need to, they can hit speeds of 35 miles per hour, matching a horse powerful enough to bring down even young moose. Grizzlies are often thought of as nothing more than fierce predators. But their true role goes far beyond that. When they hunt or scavenge, they help regulate herbivore populations and keep ecosystems in balance. When they feast on berries, the seeds pass through their digestive systems and spread across the land, planting new life in the forest. Even the scraps of their kills provide food for ravens, vultures, and countless insects. In this way, grizzlies are more than just warriors. They are also the stewards who help renew the wild rhythm of Yellowstone. Today, the Yellowstone grizzly is more than just an animal. It's a symbol of North America's wilderness. It represents nature's resilience once driven to the edge of extinction, now walking proudly again through the ancient forests. Every paw print left in the snow isn't just a sign of raw power. It's a reminder that nature can recover if we give it the chance. So next time you're lucky enough to encounter a grizzly in Yellowstone, remember, you're not just seeing a massive wild beast. You're witnessing a living story of history, resilience, and the timeless strength of nature itself. In the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, elk, specifically known as Cervus canadensis, move like proud phantoms of the old forests. They are abundant, yet never boastful, fragile, yet holding an irreplaceable role in the balance of nature. For centuries, they have been the silent architects of Yellowstone's wild theater, shaping meadows and forests with their grazing, sustaining wolves and bears with their lives, and reminding us that survival is always an act of reciprocity. When the long, icy grip of winter finally releases the land, Yellowstone awakens into a brief but spectacular summer. Between 10,000 and 2,000 elk gather in lush valleys such as Lamar and Hayden. Here wildflowers bloom in a riot of color, and endless meadows unfold like nature's grand banquet. The air is alive with the sound of bugling bulls, chirping birds, and rushing rivers swollen with snowmelt. Summer is also the season of renewal. Calves are born in the tall grasses, their spindly legs trembling as they take their first uncertain steps. Each calf represents not only new life, but also a fragile promise, an addition to the herd that may one day carry its lineage through the harsh cycles of Yellowstone. For a short while, peace reigns. The valleys seem timeless, as if nature itself has pressed pause to celebrate abundance. Yet even in this paradise, danger is never far. The cries of young calves can draw the attention of prowling predators. Coyotes skulk when the tall grass eagles circle overhead, and wolves test the edges of the herds, waiting for a mistake. Still, the richness of summer provides enough for all, and life in Yellowstone flourishes. But this peace is temporary. When winter descends, it does so with a ferocity that leaves no creature untouched. Snow blankets the land, sometimes piling up several feet deep, suffocating the meadows that once offered abundance. The elk are forced to abandon the high country driven by hunger into lower valleys where the snow is thinner and vegetation still lies within reach. It is during this migration that the elk's vulnerability is most exposed. Young calves, not yet strong enough to match the herd's pace, often lag behind. For Yellowstone's top predators, this is the moment of opportunity. Gray wolves, patient hunters of the night, stalk the weakened. Grizzly bears, though slower in deep snow, use their immense strength to ambush when chance allows. And yet, this vulnerability is not tragedy, it is necessity. every fallen elk sustains countless others. Wolves feed their packs, ravens and eagles feast on the remains, and even the soil receives nutrients as the cycle of decay renews the earth. In Yellowstone, death is never an end, but part of the eternal weaving of life. Elk are the second largest members of the deer family in North America, surpassed only by the moose. A mature bull is a true giant, standing up to 5 feet tall at the shoulder and weighing between 700 and 100 pounds. Yet it is not their size alone that commands respect, it is the grandeur of their antlers. Each summer, these living crowns grow anew, sheathed in soft velvet that carries blood and nutrients. Growing at nearly an inch per day, antlers can stretch 4 feet across and weigh more than 40 pounds by the time autumn arrives. They are symbols of power tools of survival and declarations of dominance. During the rut, the mating season, bulls clash in ferocious battles that echo through the valleys. The sound of antlers colliding is like thunder rolling through the forest. These battles are not always fatal, but they are always consequential. Victory earns the right to mate, ensuring that only the strongest genes carry forward. When the brutal Yellowstone winter sets in, testosterone levels fall. The antlers, once the pride of the bull, are shed like discarded armor. They will lie on the forest floor, becoming food for porcupines or fertilizer for the soil. By spring, new antlers will begin again, continuing the endless cycle of growth and loss. Without their antlers, bulls are more vulnerable. Yet even then, a healthy full-grown bull is rarely targeted by predators. Wolves and grizzlies weigh risk as carefully as any strategist. A miscalculated attack could leave a predator injured, unable to hunt again. Thus, most often, it is the weak, the sick, or the very young that fall. This selective predation keeps the elk population balanced, preventing overgrazing that could devastate Yellowstone's fragile ecosystem. In this way, predators are not enemies, but partners in the dance of survival. Elk and wolves, locked in eternal struggle, shape each other's destiny. But elk are far from defenseless. Their speed is astonishing, up to 45 miles per hour across open ground, fast enough to outpace wolves in short bursts. In deep snow, their long legs give them an advantage, carrying them where smaller predators falter. Their greatest defense, however, is unity. Herds move like a single organism, coordinated and purposeful. Wolves find it difficult to isolate one target when dozens of bodies surge forward as one. During calving season, females form protective circles around their young, their eyes sharp and ears alert. Bulls' antlers lowered stand ready to charge at any threat, embodying both ferocity and sacrifice. This solidarity is more than survival strategy. It is a profound reminder of interdependence. Alone, an elk is fragile. Together, they are formidable. Beyond predator-prey drama, elk shape Yellowstone in quieter, less visible ways. Their grazing patterns sculpt meadows, keeping grasses short and allowing wildflowers to thrive. In winter, their hooves break through snow, uncovering plants that other animals can then reach. Even in death, their bodies enrich the soil, feeding beetles, fungi, and plants. Ecologists describe elk as a keystone species, meaning their presence or absence ripples through the entire ecosystem. Without elk, wolves would starve, bears would lose an important food source, and vegetation would either overgrow or collapse into imbalance. In short, elk are not just inhabitants of Yellowstone, they are its foundation. In Yellowstone's Grand Theater, elk remind us that strength is not measured by antlers alone, nor by muscle or speed. True strength lies in resilience, the ability to endure brutal winters, to migrate vast distances to sacrifice so that others may live. They also remind us of solidarity. A single elk cannot withstand the relentless forces of nature, but a herd can. Together, they face the wolves, the blizzards, and the endless turning of the seasons. For humans, the lesson is humbling. We too are sustained not by our individual power, but by our connections, family community, the ecosystems that cradle us. Like elk, our survival depends on unity and on respecting the balance of the natural world. To watch elk move across Yellowstone is to glimpse something ancient, a rhythm older than civilization. They are the heartbeat of the wilderness, fragile, yet enduring, vulnerable, yet essential. Every bugle in the autumn mist, every migration through the snow, every circle of mothers protecting their calves speaks of resilience and connection. They are not just animals, but living symbols, reminders that life is strongest, not in isolation, but in the bonds that tie us to each other, to the land, and to the endless cycle of renewal. In Yellowstone, elk carry the story of the wild. And in their story, we can find echoes of our own.
Bleed.
The cycle of life in Yellowstone never truly stops. After the long frozen months of winter, when the land lies buried under snow and ice, and every creature struggles just to survive, spring arrives, bringing renewal to the landscape alive again with color and sound. Yellowstone transforms into a vast nursery where growth and reproduction unfold without pause, each life woven into the endless rhythm of nature's clock. Here, the wild rises like a timeless symphony with more than 67 species of mammals, 300 species of birds, 16 native fish, 6 reptiles, and 4 amphibians thriving across mountains, valleys, grasslands, and steaming hot springs. But in Yellowstone, spring is not only the season of life, it also marks the beginning of another harsh struggle for survival. As newborn bison calves take their first shaky steps, wolf packs begin hunting to feed their growing litters. Grizzlies emerge from their dens after months of hibernation, leading tiny cubs into the world. For the very first time, a place full of both danger and opportunity. Yet even as Yellowstone's wildlife fights to survive and maintain the fragile balance of the park's ecosystem, silent threats are closing in. The Earth's climate is warming, and Yellowstone is no exception. Rising temperatures don't just stretch out the growing season for plants. They also push animals into an ever harder race for survival. For hibernators like grizzly bears, the shift in seasonal rhythms has become a serious challenge. Spring now arrives earlier, snow melts faster, and food is harder to come by. This forces bears to adjust their hibernation schedules, but nature doesn't adapt as quickly or smoothly as humans might hope. With less food available in late fall, many bears struggle to build up enough fat reserves to carry them through the long winter. Shifts in rainfall and temperature also take a heavy toll on the grasslands, the very foundation of life for bison and elk. As their grazing grounds grow less predictable, so too does the survival of the great herds that define Yellowstone. And the threats don't stop there. Predators in Yellowstone sometimes face devastating impacts from the park's most unforgiving natural disasters. Yellowstone sits directly on top of one of the largest active volcanic systems in the world, a constant reminder of its geological instability. Small earthquakes rumble through the region on a regular basis, like the muffled growl of a giant beast stirring in its sleep. But stronger tremors can trigger landslides, reshape entire landscapes, and shatter the delicate balance of the ecosystem. When major quakes strike the habitats of apex predators like gray wolves and grizzlies can be destroyed or altered overnight. At the same time, prey animals such as elk and deer may be forced to migrate in search of safer, more stable ground. The ripple effect is a temporary ecological imbalance, driving predators to roam farther and expend more energy just to find food. Even worse, if Yellowstone's supervolcano were ever to erupt, the disaster wouldn't be confined to the park. It would unleash a global ecological crisis. Studies show that a massive volcanic eruption at Yellowstone could release billions of tons of ash into the atmosphere. The result would be a volcanic winter dropping global temperatures and disrupting plant and animal populations for centuries to come. But it's not just eruptions that pose a threat. Yellowstone's rugged mountains and complex geology also make it vulnerable to landslides, often triggered by heavy rains or earthquakes. Entire slopes once held together by dense forests and thick vegetation can suddenly give way, crashing down as torrents of rock and mud, like a river of fire tearing through the wilderness. These events can wipe out critical habitats in a matter of minutes. Spring in Yellowstone brings its own dangers. As the snowpack melts rapidly under the warming sun, rivers like the Yellowstone and the Lamar can transform into raging torrents, swallowing roads bridges and reshaping the very face of the landscape. In June 2022, the park experienced one of the most destructive floods in more than a century. A sudden combination of rapid snowmelt and heavy rainfall pushed river levels to record highs. Yellowstone National Park was forced to shut down completely, and the land itself endured a violent upheaval that left lasting scars on both the environment and its wildlife.
Grunts.
Yellowstone isn't just a national park, it's the very soul of America. It's where bison still roam the open plains, where gray wolves still howl through the night, and where the bald eagle soars as a symbol of freedom. This is a legacy we share, and one we must protect, not just for today, but for generations to come. Protecting Yellowstone isn't only the job of the government or scientists.
Now, do you see the steam
it's the
coming from that hot spring
responsibility
over there?
of every American. By supporting conservation
You
projects,
are on a
traveling
designated
responsibly,
boardwalk.
and sharing the message of why wild places matter, you're helping keep this symphony of nature alive. Have you ever been to Yellowstone? When you stood in the wide-open Lamar Valley or looked up at the starlit skies of Hayden, what did you feel? Share your thoughts in the comments because your story too is part of Yellowstone's spirit. And tell us after Yellowstone, which wild place would you love to explore next? The frozen beauty of Alaska, the mystery of the Everglades, or the grandeur of the Grand Canyon? We'd love to hear from you. Together, we can protect Yellowstone so that 50 years, 100 years, even 1,000 years from now, our children and grandchildren will still witness it as the beating heart of America. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can join us on the next great adventure.